Hey there, welcome back to part 2 of the Seagull Box demo video. Part 1 video is the one where I actually show off what this thing sounds like. This is the part 2 video. So it's pretty much going to be no payoff, just me running my mouth incessantly rambling for hours. So if you're interested in the David Gilmour Seagull sound effect, I would encourage you to take a look at some of these videos that are over on the right. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of much more like quick payoff, tell you how to do it, rather than choosing this video. I like to run my mouth a lot when I make videos, so I'm busting this up into 2 parts. So how have you guys been? I've been good. I quit smoking cigarettes. I vape now. That was a long process. I was a smoker, but I haven't smoked any tobacco in almost 3 months. So I'm doing good with that. It was a process, and I got some decent stuff here, like hardware for vaping, and I found some juices that I really enjoy, and I'm actually going to be experimenting to attempting to DIY my own juice, it's more affordable. So I'm going to be doing that, probably vaping for a while and then lowering. I'm already down to 3 milligram nicotine, which coming down from I think the first one I bought was 24, and they really don't go any lower than 3, other than down to 0. So yeah, I'm doing good with that, and it's been about time. I was a smoker, so I'm thrilled. The last time that I quit smoking, I made it for 3 months after quitting, going through that hell of cold turkey. And I was doing projects. I was working on some mini amps. This was like 2010, I think. And I accidentally drilled a hole in my index finger. I was like, and I lost it. I jumped in the car and went down to the gas station and bought a pack of smokes like an idiot. So this time quitting, it was important to me that I pull it off. So I'm going to be taking it easy. There's plenty of stuff I can do if I feel like it, a little bit of work here and there. In the meantime, I have made some noise stuff. I've made some cool standalone, more analogish, hackish boxes with amps and speakers, with oscillators and effects in them. Including the Dave Gilmour Seagull Box is one of those things. Am I going to really call it the Dave Gilmour Seagull Box? It sounds like my Ronco. It comes with the Ginsu, and then you get these tiki straws. Throw your seagull party today. Caca, caca. Anyway, yeah, I did some noise stuff. I built this thing called the MIDI Hero that's just insanely cool. We've been doing, the family band is still going strong. We got 70 originals. We're getting better. We sound good. I think we do. I still kind of got to get back to where I'm good on guitar. The last time we did this, when my daughter was 13, she's like 22 now, the last serious set of music that we had, I was a lot better than I am today playing leads. I was fast, I was doing a lot of tapping, and I don't want to be like, oh, I was so good. But as a person that has a handicap and I only have 2 fingers to fret, I think I'm allowed to say that, because I suck. So there is a lot of room for improvement, and when I say I'm getting good, that doesn't mean anything like what you guys would think of good, of being able to play like Jimmy Page or do these runs where you're, playing a lot of notes and it sounds good. No, not at all. So anyway, yeah, I did this noise stuff, and the family, we get together. My wife got a laptop for Christmas, an old Mac PPC. So I filled that up with VSTI, noise-ish stuff, and everybody will kind of grab a computer, and we just set up a bunch of oscillators with delays and tune them to a chord. Or there's all kinds of little different things that we do where it's not just random noise, which would kind of really be, if everyone was just trying to be as obnoxious as they could. It's cool. We're working through that, where we haven't done it as much as I would like to, but I did build this thing called the MIDI Hero that's very cool, and I gotta get you guys a demo video of that, because it's such a cool thing. You'll see. This thing is really cool. So back to me and incessantly rambling. guess I should start and address the elephant in the room. You know, every other year I go to the optometrist and I get a new pair of glasses. And I was going to the same place for many years, and they were great. They were real professionals, no bullshit. They weren't very friendly. Actually, they were assholes. It was like these old German people, and they were just, they would call, they're like, your spectacles are ready for delivery. Come and pick them up promptly, please. Goodbye. You know, like, jawohl, I'm coming now, you know. I can't wait. My old ones are all scratched the fuck. I can hardly see, you know. So I went in there, I researched non-scratch coating, like, you know, because I'm always scratching these things, you know, and I'm super careful with them. I'm always cleaning them, and I've got all these, like, bottles and buff pads and waxes and oils and stuff over here, and I'm always playing around with them. And still, they're unbelievably scratched, you know. So the last time that I got a new pair, I went out to the car and I looked, and they were beautiful and everything, and then I got home, and I'm like, and there was, on the inside, there was a scratch, like, from the edge by my nose all the way down to where my cornea goes. Like, within 15 minutes. Like, some kind of little demon flew, like, invisible skinless bee with, like, a diamond-tipped... like, I couldn't believe it. So I go to them, I'm like, is there any kind of, like, non-scratch? And they're like, fine, what's this problem? And I go, well, they scratch, you know, and... I hate it. I like to be able to see, you know. And they're like, oh, well, what you could think about doing is at nighttime, before you go to sleep in the bed, when you take off these glasses and you put them down, perhaps you don't put them down like this and scrape them all up and scratch them, do cough. Try this. Like, whoa, like, okay, all right, yeah, like, I'm, you know, I guess you look at me and I'm just like, like, here he comes. Here's that guy again, you know, tripping on the door, coming in, I guess. I mean, I guess that's just my blessing. I remember when my father was my age, the respect that he commanded, like, people regarded him like he was a king. Like, people were just terrified of him, and then no one would. They were like getting the door for him and like, here you go, sir, have a good. Me, I'm like, it's like, fuck that white motherfucker. Everywhere I go, it's just like people scowling at me and like young, like, and I'm like, I nod at everybody. I'm like, what's up? Like, hey, I don't care if you're like a Latin king shooting up. I'm like, hey, how's the smack today? Actually, it looks pretty good. I mean, my back pain, you know. So, yeah, that's, I end up, and I don't know if it's because of the new, like, healthcare thing, that's the insurance. I'm not going to say those two words. I refuse to say those two words. But anyway, my wife handles all that stuff for me, and she was like, yeah, you got to go to this new place. So I go over there, and it's like three, like, between 45 and like 50-ish women, which is fine with me. I'm not one of these dudes that's like into girls. I like, you know, broads. I like women. So, and I mean, this isn't like The Bachelor or something. I'm there to get my glasses, but I'm thinking, oh, these broads probably know what they're doing, you know. And so I'm in there, and I pick out my glasses. They're like identical, the frames. They look just like the ones I have. I'm like, this is perfect, you know. And they start getting distracted. There's another girl. She's like, I want to be an optometrist. And they're like giving her paper. Like, you could fill out an application here and draw this bunny. And then the girl, the lady that's helping me is like, ooh, hot flash. And she gets, I swear to God, she's like, I got to open the door. And she opens the door, and then there's another, like, young woman with a stroller standing right outside the door on her iPhone. She's like, listen here, mother effer. I had this kid for 9 months in my belly, and I've got it now all day at the effing mall, and the effing stroller. She's just screaming, and all these ladies are like no one's paying attention to Petey, which is fine. You know, I mean, hence the boat with the disco ball on it. Like, pretty much everything that I do stems from some deep-rooted, like, psychological, my mom not paying any attention to me issue. You know, like, hence this channel and why I play guitar. Everything, like, ties into this. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, you got that, right? You know, the hot flash. And she's all like, okay, you're good, honey. You can go, honey. And so I get a call, and my wife comes home with the glasses, and here they are. They're like Coke bottle lenses. I don't know if you can see the girth on those. And then, like, these frames would have been a huge, like, these would have been sold out around the same time that Cannonball Run was at the theater. Smokey and the Bandit 2. Like, alls I need is a NASCAR, like one of those silver, like, fireproof Trans Am coats with the 2 black racing stripes, and then the fire, like that Firebird Eagle on my, like what kind of, feather my hair, part it down the middle, get a choker, and be like, Bruno or something with these glass, like what the. So these things, and they're like, they weigh like 29 ounces. They're like sliding down my nose with a patch of pimples growing in behind where they slid. Unbelievable. But they don't have that scratch, so I'm going to be wearing them all, and I can't until I have to go back to that coven of women. I'm thinking I'm going to bring, like, bake some strawberry muffins or something and be like some kind of pheromone spray to, like, try to interrupt the synchronized menstrual cycles. Because I'm sure, like, I'm not the only one. People are probably getting, like, one contact lens and then a monocle, or just, like, baby glasses with Goofy on them, and the guy's, like, got, like, color blind. He's like a 90-year-old guy, and so who knows what the fuck is going on at that place. But I should have went for the Kurt Cobain, one of those Anne Kleins, those big gold ones. That's what I should have went for. They would have looked better than these things. Jesus. So anyway, yeah, David Gilmour, Pink Floyd. I was probably like, I was 15. My dad died, and then like 4 months later, my mom took us to Florida. And I was just really getting into Pink Floyd. I'd been into the Beatles before that, and before that I had all the James Bond soundtrack albums. I was listening to those. So I snuck off from my mom, and I'm at this record store. I bought a cassette copy of the Metal album. Now, Metal is what came out before Dark Side of the Moon, and they were distilling the jackpot formula that they had with Dark Side, where half of the album is one track, and all 4 of the members of the band contributed to this track. It's called Echoes. And the album has kind of a, like, I don't want to say nautical, like oceanographic, like beach or ocean theme to it. It's not like a real tight concept album, but that theme is definitely there. And especially magnified through this Echoes, to which, if you haven't seen the movie Pink Floyd at Pompeii, even if you have, watch it again. It's excellent. And that's like probably the highlight of it, is this Echoes. You can actually just watch that segment on YouTube, Echoes. Check it out if you haven't checked it out. So in the middle, they're like kind of vamping in like F sharp, like a fire engine bass riff, and it fades down. These winds pick up. This killer like stereo effect winds are blowing around, and then off in the distance, these demonic electronic seagulls, these like laughing bird sound effects, start coming in from far away. And it's the creepiest. It's my favorite Pink Floyd sound effect of all time. I mean, maybe if you want to like go into the other room and make it work, but that's Syd Barrett. Anyway, yeah, I have never heard another band use this sound effect. It's the absolute coolest, creepiest sound. I never knew how they did it. I mean, I always just had a mental picture of like Rick Wright with some kind of like joystick, like like Korg Poly 800 with the little fiddle stick on the side. I had no idea how they did it, like some kind of weird VCS3 Synthi Hi-Fly hooked up to it, or I have no idea, I detect the hand of EMS in this, but it wasn't. And this is one of those things where it's like, I don't think it was out. Like, I don't think too many people even knew what that was until recently. It came out how you get that. And it's kind of like when you're in pre-kindergarten, you don't really know where babies come from yet. It's better off that you don't want to spoil that, Keep it a mystery for a while. Slow down there, bucko. So eventually, I was fast forward to like 2006, maybe 2003, somewhere in there. I'm on YouTube and I'm looking over, and there's like the relevant videos, and it's like Dave Gilmour Seagull trick. So I'm like, I click on this thing, And all's it is, Gilmour played through a wah. He played through a crybaby. I think any wah, as long as it doesn't have a buffer, like a Morley, it will work. There's one crybaby model that I know this won't work with. Anyway, if you got a wah pedal hooked up, all you do, you unplug both of the connections, go into the wah, and you flip-flop them. So it's a backwards connected wah. So your guitar cable goes to the output of the wah, and the input jack of the wah pedal goes to the amplifier. It's backwards. Like Pink Floyd's roadie, Dave Gilmour's guitar tech was drinking too much Boone's Farm at the La Vallée or Obscured by Clouds ballet recital in France and hooked up the wah backwards after the Boone's Farm hangover, you know. Anyway, this is the absolute coolest sound effect, and they used it on the wall, on the album, on the song, I think it's side 3. In the middle of side 3, the song's called Is There Anybody Out There? And there's like a vocal part with some drones, and then the acoustic guitar. It's like a nylon or catgut acoustic guitar, classical guitar part comes in. Well, in that drone part where they keep chanting, "Is there anybody out there?" That's where those seagulls live, right in there. And then, of course, like in the '80s. Well, I know it was 1990, but it was the '80s. At Potsdamer Platz, when Roger Waters in Berlin did his Wall concert with Cyndi Lauper, Bryan Adams, Scorpions, and because contemplate numb, Van Morrison. Anyway, when they announced that, I was like, I'm going to Berlin. I don't care. I'm going to Berlin. I don't care if I got a row. I'm going to Berlin. And then, of course, I'm like all alone in my bedroom with a 6-pack of Radio Shack Concert Mate 90-minute tapes, taping the radio all day, like waiting for this thing to start. And they had a long wind-up to it. I remember there was some guy who he was like a World War II veteran, British guy, and he was like, I take this whistle that once was used to send men into battle, and with this whistle, when I blow it, I'm going to start the concert. And then he blows the whistle, you know. Well, when that guy was giving his whole speech, the whole time you hear this low E kind of fading in, emanating out from behind the wall stage. And I'm going, oh man, I cannot wait. Because I've been in this room for like 3 days with these cassettes, like tightening the cap stands, you know, cleaning the head on the normal bias cassette. Anyway, while that all is going on, I hope I painted a detailed enough mental picture for you. Somebody back there fires off one of these seagulls. They let one of these seagulls rip. And, I mean, it was only out of like a pig nose or like some 10-inch speaker champ. You could barely hear it. It was way off behind the stage. You hear I was like, all the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I got a tear in my eye. I was like, wife, man, like, this is going to be so fucking awesome. And then Cyndi Lauper comes out, chewing her gum. We don't need no. Like, oh my God. Roger, no. Just, Udi Lepper was good enough. Oh my goodness. Bryan Adams? Well, anyway, so fast forward, it's like probably 2010, I'm getting into DIY, and I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan. I always wanted to have a cocked wah sound. Like Zappa used to just turn on this wah-wah pedal that was stuck halfway in between when he would solo out. And later, I mean, he was building filters into his guitars to get that sound. Later on in the 80s, there was this company called Systech. They made this rear pedal called the Harmonic Energizer. There's a guy named Mad Bean that cloned it. It's called the Karate Shop. And he's always out of those. Every time I get enough, like, save up to $9 to order one, it's like out of stock. So I was on the phone with my favorite guy in the community, Dino, Digi2T. He's the guy that reverse engineered the Ludwig Phase 2. This is the guy that reverse engineered the Schumann PLL. He has this Hen's Tooth Cafe where he gets like the rarest pedals in the world. and suckers these guys that have them into shipping them to him so he can fix it, like something, the LED will be broke or something. And then he'll like completely reverse engineer it and have PCBs run out, and like you can get in on that. And he doesn't charge anything. It's like, this guy's like, he's a genius. He's a jant. He's a combination of a genius and a saint. I mean, he's my, no offense to like Tim Dietrich or Dead Astronaut or Pink Jimmy Photon, any of my other favorite guys in the community. True bypass. Tim Dietrich Electronics. No offense to any of my other favorite guys in the community, but Dino, he was the man. I was talking to Dino, I'm like, yeah, I gotta get this lock. Why, you know, I was like asking him about color sound inductorless, and because I figured this guy's the guy to, you know, he would know if anybody. He's got like this ground control rack that he like made, like it's absolutely ridiculous, his rig. And he buys all these crybabies and then guts them just so he can build expression pedals or whatever like modulation pedal I've never heard of that he's like modded out and built in there. So he sent me 3 crybaby PCBs. The first one, I turned it into a fixie, you know, removed that geared pot, and then like there's a stopper to throw that pot over to a CDSL or a light photoresistor, and then I put a blinky LED next to it with a rate, so you can like auto watt, not like Jerry Garcia like envelope filter auto watt, but automatic. So yeah, if you've got like 2 extra crybaby PCBs, 1 can go for the Gilmour, the Seagull Box, and 2 can go for what I'm talking about. Make a fixie and then do a little auto. It's a cool effect. I use it all the time. Or you could do a triple and just have, I think you can wire it with a DPDT, or is that one of those switches that has the 9 jacks on it? A 3PDT. Oh man. How much does that cost? $6.95 for the stopper too, and then you got to wire that in there. But yeah, you could wire that all up with an with an indicator LED and flip flop the order of it, the input and the output. I mean, you could do it. Anyway, back to my story. I get these 3 PCBs, and then I watched that video, and I'm like, I got it. As soon as I watched that video, I ran in the kitchen and tried it, and the seagulls came, and I was like, man, this is 4 hours later, you know, my neighbors are like, what the fuck is that guy doing over there? It's fucking summoning demons from the pit of hell, you know, cackling demoniac. So, foolishness demons by the legion, hundreds of thousands. So, yeah, this thing, it works. I mean, all you really need is an echo. I mean, reverb is nice. The little ambience is always nice. But if you can get like a 300 millisecond delay to add to this, that's all you need. Now, I remembered when I was going to go to throw this thing together, there's a guy named Rick Holt, Frequency Central, and he put up a schematic for something called Wind Machine. You know you want it. So I had to build that thing. It's like a white noise generator with a frequency control. So, you know, basically. So, yeah, if you were in a Pink Floyd cover band, and actually I want to start a Pink Floyd cover band because I built this thing. You're like, well, how are we going to cover echoes? There's that whole thing in the middle, and it's like, well, yeah, I got, let me show you my my David Gilmour brand Seagull Box. Like, oh, and it does the wind, and then it's got the echo, and then it's got the cackling demons too. So this thing it's just a cat's meow. Now, when I went to put it together, you know how much I love to go resale shopping with my with these glasses on. Oh, here he comes. Yeah, he gets the discount. So anyway, I'm in this place, and they had a big 16 millimeter projector from like a grade school. And so I got that. It was trashed. So I pulled it had a solid state, like a 12 watt, really clean sounding. Almost sounds like a JC, like a jazz chorus. So I rehoused that in like a blue Hammerite box. And I got the rest of this thing. But the side panel on it, if you could picture this, like, you know, it has a panel that covers that like comes off, but there's a speaker in there, and it's kind of like, if you laid it on its side, it's kind of trapezoid shaped. It's got like Dalek slots in it. I mean, this thing looks like something Pink Floyd would have, like straight out of EMS London, you know. And there's plenty of room in it, so I figured I might as well go ahead and, you know, what I used, it had the built-in speaker, so I'm like, well, I could make this thing small and have you run a line out, or I could have a built-in speaker. So I did, and whenever I have a thing like this, I get one of these Hannah Montana karaoke guitars. It's a purple Walt Disney kitty guitar with a mic jack, and I get them for $1.99 from Goodwill. It was a real popular toy for kids at Christmas. They must have reduced them, cheap toy, and everybody bought them, and it's got a circuit board in it with a LM386 chip amp and then a PT2399 Echo. So all you got to do, you remove R17 and R11, the two resistors that you unsolder and remove them, and then you cut in 4 wires, two for each of those resistors, and add adjusters or pots, 150K and 100K for the delay time, and then the feedback, and you've got an instant amp with an Echo. And I mean, I don't run it. Like none of my signal chains or my band, my professional music stuff has one of these like Hannah Montana karaoke Echo on it. But all of my noise circuits do. All my like Atari Punk console or Dino Segovia slider synth, any of that garbage that needs sounds better with an Echo. Because I got a pile. I've been collecting. I fiend out on those Hannahs. I see that lavender purple and I'm like running, like ripping it out of some kid's hands in the back of the toy department of, the Thrifty Wizard. So, yeah, that's basically what it is. It's the wind circuit, the modified Crybaby. You have to have a pickup. So I use my old Les Paul, half of that pickup, and I had to like go into the bobbin and get the wire out and solder it and hot glue it and all that. But yeah, it worked. I got a couple of pots left over for some junk guitar circuit, and I had some slider pots. I figured those would work really well. And then if you're from Chicago or you did any auto body work or you were into aftermarket in the 70s, you remember the J.C. Whitney catalog or the Warshawski Company catalog? They had a whole section with horns. It was all aftermarket stuff for cars. And they had a whole section with automotive horns. They had the Jester, thumb your nose at the world, and his hand would light up. And the fake Mack truck emblem where the bulldog is spikes on his collar, incandescent 12-volt bulb. All kinds of weird ooga ooga horns. And they had a picture of a ship liner like, this horn. Man, I want to get my hand on that. But daydreaming when I was like 7 years old of all the horns I was going to put on my Volvo when I grew up. And I did. I went to the junkyard for all mine. But I got a 240 with 14 horns and sirens. There's 3 PAs in it. Got all the circuit bent stuff. There's a Casio VL tone on the dash, RCA inputs on the next to the radio, and I got a light theremin with an Echo that you can crash the Echo where So yeah, if you see a blue 240 in Chicago with fog lights and all kinds of like neon shit on the windshield wipers, don't honk your horn. You'll get an earful. But yeah, that Warshawski catalog, it had a golden alarm horn. It was golden. And I always daydreamed about that golden horn. And then one day I was at my wife's mom, my mother-in-law. We were like upstairs and this closet door. One of my kids opened the sliding door and there was a box up there. And I saw this gold, like this bevel. I'm like, is that Warshawski golden horn? And it was. I was like, holy cow. I was like, where did you get this? And my wife's like, that's probably my brother's. Like, he bought that for his first car and then, like, probably, like, took it out when he sold the car, and never used it. So for, like, 15 years, I was lusting after this horn. It was up there. And every time I would go to my mother-in-law's, I would, like, sneak upstairs and be like, is it still there? Like the horn demons come and steal it. So I would go up there and see. So finally, at one of these family functions, it must have been like an anniversary party or a wedding, because I was probably shit-faced, open bar. I had been drinking to get the courage to ask. I was like, hey, man, you know that golden horn? He was like, what? And I'm like, your golden horn. He was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, your golden Warshawski horn up in the closet at Mom's. He was like, what? And I'm like, dude, you've got that. And he was like, take it. Like, I don't care. So I've had this thing, and I've been like like my precious, like what am I gonna? So anyway, I finally used the golden horn. It's on the David Gilmour Seagull Box. So this video is coming rapidly up to the 3 hour mark. Thank you very much if you stuck with me and listened to all this. I know I'm going to come back and revisit this video and enjoy listening to myself to no end for many. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on repeat for the rest of the night. So you guys have a good evening, and if you've got any questions or anything about that thing, get a hold of me. I could do my best to help you out because. So thank you very much. Enjoy, and most of all, keep on hacking. See ya.